Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks so much for joining me today. Got a couple people just getting logged into the audio, and then we're going to go ahead and get started. So, today I am going to show you some tips and tricks when searching in the MLS. Tips and tricks to make it easier to be able to find the information faster. And I'm going to share a couple things that you probably didn't know were there, sometimes hidden in plain sight, right? Some things to just speed up the efficiency and to make sure that you never miss a property when you're searching. So I think we got most everybody here. First and foremost, my name is Colleen DeLang. I am an instructor here with my REALTORS. The reason I teach this class is because I've also been a licensed realtor for 23 years now. It makes me feel old when I say it like that. But for 23 years, I've been using different MLS systems to serve my clients and do searches. And I'm excited to say that we now, through our data sharing efforts, we now have 97% of the state in our database, meaning it was frustrating to me as an agent when clients were calling me and they were getting the information faster than I could. Clients were calling, finding stuff on Zillow and Realtor.com, and they were, pulling up 10 addresses, and they were getting the information faster and more efficiently than I was. And I knew that was never going to work. So we've built some unique things in Paragon that I'm going to show you today, so that you can do things like enter up to 30 addresses in one field, hit enter, and pull up all the results with one click. Text them over to your buyer or someone that you might be speaking with. The idea is we need to be able to find the information fast in our home MLS database. I'm going to show you a lot of fields and features that we added just for UPAR. And with that, I think we can probably go ahead and get started. So just to make sure, there's nothing worse than being an instructor on a webinar. I wish I could be in front of everyone, but there's nothing worse than finding out you're 5 minutes in and no one could hear or see you. So if I could just have one person go down to the questions box in your GoToWebinar panel and let me know that you can see and hear me okay, then we'll go ahead and get started. So again, if I could just have somebody open up your GoToWebinar box, which is over on the right-hand side of your screen. All right. Thank you so much, Jana. Thank you so much, Penny. I appreciate it. So, all right, now that I know you can hear and see me okay, let me just kind of do a little housekeeping here. You are welcome to ask questions all throughout the demonstration today. As an agent myself, I hold all my questions, and then at the end, I can't remember what questions I was going to ask. So feel free to jump in with questions today. To do that, all you have to do is open up that GoToWebinar panel. Down in that questions box, simply type in your question. It will alert me on the side of my screen, and I'll periodically stop and then go over that question. So the idea is it's a lot easier than being 10 screens ahead and not knowing, that there's a question or having to go back. So if you just pop those questions as they come to you in the questions box, we'll stop periodically and we'll go ahead and address those. Okay. I'm also going to leave you with some helpful resources. I'm going to throw a lot of stuff at you today, a lot of tips and tricks, some things that I guarantee you probably didn't know were, again, hidden in plain sight, right? Because as agents, we're in a hurry. We're either quickly searching for a property, we're running off to a showing, or maybe taking a new listing. So we don't click on every single button in the MLS because let's face it, there's a lot there. So I'm going to show you some of those highlighted features. But of course, you're not going to remember where every button is today. So we're recording this class. It's going to be available on our YouTube channel, but we've made a whole playlist for UPAR that's going to have all of the classes, all of the products and tools. We've got a lot of classes coming up. I think we scheduled like 14 or 15 classes. They're all going to be posted there. So you'll be able to go back and visit the classes again. So if you miss anything, or if you have to step away to hopefully bottom line an offer or something like that, you'll be able to rewatch these. And I'm going to show you where there are also cheat sheets. If you're not really a video watcher and you kind of just want to follow along on a cheat sheet or have it handy, you can do that. I'm going to show you where you can find all of those. All right, so I'm going to turn off my fuzzy hair today because it's raining like crazy down where I am. Hopefully, I think you guys got snow not that long ago, so we don't need that, but we would like something a little different than the rain would be nice. So I'm going to turn off my screen just to get a full screen of Paragon, and we're going to start our tips and tricks. All right. So you should be able to see that Paragon screen in just a second. There's really no difference in the system. In the middle, the difference will be, you'll notice The middle has a little more branding for my REALTORS. UPAR actually controls the middle section where you are, so they can put in things like these helpful upcoming classes, events that they have scheduled, calendar, things like that. So the only difference you're going to really see in our screens today is that mine is going to be for my REALTORS. That's where I belong. And yours is going to be UPAR. But the side panels are going to be the same. They're going to allow you to search the same ways. But a lot of people don't know that you can actually customize these side panels of your dashboard. So what do I mean? Well, for me, I have a little bit of OCD, quite honestly, and I kind of like everything in a logical order. So when I opened up Paragon, my quick search was over here on the left, and it just didn't really have anything I needed where I needed it. So in Paragon, one of the unique things is that you can actually customize almost every screen of Paragon. So if I want my quick search, I'm right-handed. I generally sometimes will teach on a kind of a lecture, and so I'll have my mouse over to the right. It was just easier for me to have my quick search on the right and then have things like my market monitor at the top, my clients, so I can see that my clients went in. They've had 88 visits to their Collab Center site. They've got 4 new favorites. I like to be able to see that when I'm logging in. I also like to see if things have been confirmed that I'm scheduling showings on. So I want to have everything that I need as soon as I open up the MLS. So don't be afraid to grab these top of these boxes and move them around. It's a simple drag and drop, but you don't want to always have to scroll to the bottom anytime you need something, right? That's not so efficient. The other thing, when I started using Paragon that I found a little confusing is there's multiple ways to search in Paragon. So if you are searching for one property, let's say, and I'm going to use, I believe it's Penny. She was kind enough to let me know she could hear me. So we're going to use you as an example today. We're going to say that you just got a call from a buyer and he is sitting in front of 123 Main Street. Well, the last thing you want to do is have to go enter a bunch of criteria in a search when you're just trying to pull it up fast like he can. So the idea is if you go up to this power search and you simply start typing the property address, 123 Main Street will immediately pop up. And as you can see, actives and pendings always shoot to the top because we assume active and pendings are really what a client would be calling you quickly on. But of course, if there's closed records or expired records, maybe you want to take a look at those. So right over here where it says listings 10, if I want to open up all 10 of those records quickly, I can simply click on listings 10. It opens up my spreadsheet, and now I can deal with all of those listings. So maybe I'm looking for a particular comp. Maybe I want to see how many times this property has closed. Now, when you're in your spreadsheet and you have your results, don't be afraid to customize that too. So let me show you a couple examples of what I mean. So once you have your search results, I'm going to use our power search over here for just a moment. Oop, close my partial listing. Sorry, putting in the listing today. All right, so I'm in my market monitor here, and let's say I'm looking at these active listings. I can actually click on the 9 new active listings in my market monitor search. But one thing I added to make this search a little better was I like to know who actually listed the properties. So for instance, if you've been doing this for 23 years, like I have, you probably have some agents that you've really enjoyed working with. And there are some agents that it was really a struggle to get everything to the closing table, right? So if I am putting these 9 in order, well, I probably want to put my favorite agents right up at the top because I know I'm going to have an even better experience. Not that I wouldn't show another agent's listing. I would certainly keep them in my list, but I might want to show the agents that I've had really good experience with and things have gone super smooth. I might want to show those listings first. So one of the things I added was I want to know the listing agent name. So don't be afraid to add things into either your search results or into your search criteria that are going to assist you. So for instance, if I want to be able to schedule on those agents, I want to be able to see the agent name right in my search results. So how do you do that? Well, all you're going to do is you're going to go to this customize, and pretty much this gear is going to be throughout Paragon on almost every screen so that you can customize it easily. So I'm going to go to customize and fields, and it's going to tell me that my default spreadsheet preferences are set. And here's what's currently showing up right over here. But if you wanted to add something, let's say I wanted to add acreage to this spreadsheet. You can check it, hit add, and what it actually does is it always drops it at the bottom. But don't be afraid to rearrange those fields. So again, if you want to add listing agent name or you want to add a particular field that is not in your search results, all you have to do is add it and then drag and drop it. If I want that agent name really close to the front of my list here, I can drag it and drop it into place. And then all I have to do is hit save. Now the idea, and I have that here, but you can kind of see it's now added acreage in. But same idea for adding in a listing agent name. Sometimes it's really easy to customize this so it works a little bit better for you. So hopefully that helps. That's one of your first quick tips. So again, think of this top power search up here at the top as like your Google-esque search. If you are looking for one address, or even one agent. So I can quickly find an address here. I can open all of the listing records here. But you know what? Maybe I ran into Robert and I ran into him at a restaurant. He's telling me about this great new listing that he's going to put on the market. Well, can't remember the address, but I want to get my buyers in there right away. I can actually type in the agent name. Not only is it going to bring up the agent contact information in case I want to figure out how to send them their offer, what their email address is, whatever that happens to be, but I can also see their inventory. So I can actually see the agent name. I could click on Colleen DeLange, find out where she works, but I could also go in and I can see not only information about her, but I can see even more details of the properties that she has listed. So again, all I'm going to do is I'm going to type in that agent name, and then I'm going to go ahead and either click on the agent record, or I could click on one of the agent's listings here and open up that listing ticket. So I hope that makes sense. All right. Another thing that you can do here is you can actually type in up to 30 MLS numbers right in the power search. So now I wouldn't recommend doing that. I'm going to be totally honest. As an agent, I've never ever done that. But if it's one or two, you could type in the MLS number, comma, and then another MLS number. And that'll allow you to pull to 30 MLS numbers up at once and go through all of those listing results. So kind of think this power search as finding an address quick, finding an agent quickly, or finding an MLS number quickly. Just an easy power search. Now, I will tell you, it is very Google-esque, so less is best. You want to leave off words like drives, ways, places. You want to keep it very minimal. Just really your route street address is the best way to go. So that's great if you're finding one property, but what if you're trying to find several properties? What if you're on the phone with a floor call and you want to find 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom homes in this price range? That's really what the quick search is designed for right here. It will also save your last 15 quick searches. So if you start doing a quick search, maybe you walk away, maybe you got logged out or you lost your internet connection, you can always go back to your quick searches. But one thing I recommend is adding a field that we built here at my RealTors. And what I mean is I was getting frustrated, as I mentioned, that buyers were getting the information faster than I was able to pull it up. And I wanted to have more information than they were able to see on these other sites. So we came together and we said, you know, Brian, how do we build a place that you can enter multiple addresses and it's smart enough to separate them and pull up the data? And so what we did is we built this full addresses search. So full addresses is not just a traditional address. What it allows you to do is it allows you to start entering the address, hit enter. We'll say we're looking for 456 West Street. You could put up to 30 different addresses, but it does some other really cool things here too. So I'm going to say 1971 Orleans. Just kind of coming up with a few addresses off the top of my head. Now, if I were really pulling up a search and talking to someone, I would probably put in the active or pending status because that's probably what they're going to be looking at, right? If they're calling on them. However, the cool thing about this field is there is a built-in wildcard behind the street address. So what I mean is, yes, it's 123 Main, but what if the agent added 123 Main Boulevard or 123 Main Avenue or 123 Main Street? All of those are still pulled up because basically behind the address is a built-in wildcard. So anything that accompanies it, like directionals, or ways or places, those are also pulled up. Now, let's say that you had a client who called you and said, you know what, I'm sitting in front of 672 Gratiot, but you don't know whether it's northbound Gratiot or southbound Gratiot. Well, now it's a little bit different, right? So we want to have the directional now filtered in for us. So I would type in 672 asterisk. That asterisk is kind of like a wild card, and this is really the only field you would use this on. But what it does is it makes sure that if it's northbound or southbound Gratiot, it's still going to show up for you. And that way I can pull up southbound Gratiot, northbound Gratiot, whatever that directional is, I can pull that up from here. So if you don't know what the directional is, just remember, use that asterisk or that wild card, and that's going to allow you to find those. Then, of course, I can hit my search button and I can pull up all of those results. One other quick tip here, don't be afraid to customize your quick search. If you don't have full addresses in your quick search, you want to add that. But you may not always want to have to scroll down endlessly every time you're looking for a specific field in the quick search. So one quick way to customize this is, again, going to that gear that is in the quick search. And in that gear, if I am looking, and I'm just going to take out full addresses so I can show you how to pull it in. If I am looking to add the full address field because it's not in here, I'm just going to go up to the find box. I'm going to type in the word full. You can see full addresses immediately pops up. I'm going to hit add. It's of course going to drop it at the bottom here for me. And now I'm just going to put that in the order. I'm going to drag and drop it into the order that I'm looking for. So that way I don't have to scroll down all the time to use a particular field. You don't want to be on the phone always scrolling down just to enter the basics. So in your quick search, you want to have things like bedrooms, bathrooms, maybe year built, price range, area, the basics that you're generally searching on. If there's a particular field like acreage, something like that, that you don't have in there, again, you can simply type it into this find box, hit add. Just remember, once you hit apply, you're going to see that my quick search over here reloads, and now I've got full addresses right up here at the top. So don't be afraid to customize those fields so that they work best for you. All right, I'm going to throw in a bonus tip, and I'm just going to throw this one in because I did not know how cool this was. No one ever showed me, and I thought, wow, how come everybody isn't doing this? So there is another way to speed up your searching. So when you're doing a traditional search, so we kind of looked at a power search as being for one thing, one agent, one property, one MLS. That power search here at the top, that's great for that. Down here, our quick search, this is great if we're just pulling up a little bit of basic information on the fly. However, most buyers need a full-on traditional search, right? Because you can save that search so it's automated. If a new property comes up with their criteria, it can automatically be sent over to that buyer. There's a whole bunch you can do in Paragon. We're going to cover a lot of that today. But if you are really doing a traditional search, you're adding in more things like 3-car attached garage, or maybe you're looking for very specific things, a finished basement only. So you can actually use the features to make even a more detailed search. But one of the things I thought was really cool is really kind of out of, you don't really see it because right here in our searching, in this brown bar that you see here, this is actually a quick link into different programs and different things that you can do within Paragon. So for instance, instead of always going up to search, I can click on this search and go directly into a residential search, or I can actually put a quick or speed bar at the bottom which then allows me to go directly into that search without having to do multiple clicks. So right up here is how I would traditionally do a search. So I can search for residential, vacant land. I can search for, I can even search over class lines. So let's say you have a buyer who says, I am looking for a single family home. But you know, if you find me a great deal on a vacant piece of land, I would look at that as well. So the idea is it would cross class lines so I can actually use the multi-class search, which will open up all of the fields and I can not have to singly search for a single family home, but I could search for vacant land as well. So instead of going in and always choosing the class and clicking here and then entering the criteria, you can create a speed bar right at the bottom to open up your single family search. So if I click on search single family right down here at the bottom, that's going to take me right into all of those fields where I can enter my information without having to do multiple clicks. But what's kind of cool about the speed bar is you get to decide what you want to actually put in your speed bar. So you're going to customize it. You can do things like go directly into zip form. You can do things like pull up market stats, go directly into cloud CMA. So let's take a real quick look at it. I'm going to go over here and I'm going to say, what do I want to add to my speed bar? I'm going to go to that, that settings icon. And it's going to show me. Now, there are different sections. So if I wanted to, and I'm just going to take it out here so you can kind of see, if I wanted to add a quick action link to go right into my inventory, well, I could do that. If I wanted a quick action link to upcoming open houses, I could do that. To search residential, I can do that. I'm simply selecting it, hitting add, and just like before, it's now going to be added to my speed bar. If there is something under resources, we always tell you resources is like your toolbox. Resources, when you select the category of resources, if I wanted Cloud CMA to be a one-click option, I could check Cloud CMA, hit add. Again, I could move that anywhere in my speed bar. So if you're looking to minimize, because right now, if I wanted to go into cloud, I'd have to go up to resources. I'd have to find cloud. I got to click on it. If you really just want to go into cloud CMA, you can just click it at the bottom of my speed bar and it's going to take me directly there. Okay, a lot easier than doing 4 clicks, right? It's a one-click option. So I personally, I did not know that was there and I absolutely love it. I think it's a way to not have to do multiple clicks to do something. All right. So if you have any questions and you joined us a little late, don't be afraid to throw those in the questions box in your GoToWebinar panel. And then we'll stop periodically and address those. It looks like we have no questions so far, so I'm just going to keep on going. All right. So let's talk about those full-on traditional searches. And we're going to talk about a lot of features. We're going to talk about fields that we've added exclusively for you guys. So if you are working with a buyer, 90% of the time, you are literally going in and you're going to do a full-on detailed search. So if I'm working with a buyer, and again, I'm helping him find a single family home, I'm going to go to search residential. Maybe you're doing vacant land, whatever it happens to be. You can also search your inventory. You can search upcoming open houses. You can do broker inventory. You can find your saved searches here. So kind of think whenever you're looking to search something, whether it's inventory, whether it's open houses, whether it's searching for properties or your saved searches, it's always under this search icon right up here. So let's go into our single family home. Now, obviously, if you don't know what goes in a particular field, there are these helpful magnifying glasses to the right. So if I know this client's looking for a single family home, I can go ahead and select it. I've added the full addresses field in here as well. You could add things like zip code or, you could add things, again, like acreage or things that aren't here too. So don't think of you have to use it like it's out of the box, because I'm going to be honest, when I started using Paragon, I didn't like what they gave me out of the box. I wanted to customize it and put the fields in that I use all the time. I didn't want to have to always scroll down to the bottom of the page. Same thing when customizing your search, you're going to go to customize. your fields. And you can simply pull things in, add things, move things around. Maybe I want zip code way down at the bottom because I don't use that to search a lot. And then I'm simply going to apply that. So really easy, not hard. And then it's going to change your layout of your search. But let's do a real quick run through on setting up a buyer. So let's say that we have a particular buyer. He's looking for a home. He's looking for, let's say, 3 bedrooms. We'll say a minimum of 3. We'll leave that open. We know he needs at least 2 baths, so I'm going to leave that open as well. Yes, he wants a basement, but he wants a finished basement, not just a basement. And if I'm automating this search, I don't want it to send him a bunch of properties that don't have finished basements if he keeps telling me, oh my gosh, I have to have a finished basement, right? So this is a way that you can go in and add in things like features that are going to only send the buyer what he's actually requesting. Okay. One of the other things to remember is you're looking at a whole lot more data now than before. Before, of course, you saw the UPAR data, but remember now you're seeing 97% of the state's data. And so when you're looking at the state, I had no idea, and this maybe I'm just silly, but I had no idea in the state of Michigan that there were 5 Clinton townships. I guess in my mind, one state would have one city, right? It didn't really make sense to me that there are 5 Clinton townships in the state of Michigan. I thought that was kind of funny. So how do you know when you're setting up your search which Clinton township is the Clinton township you're looking for, that your buyer's looking in that area for those properties? So what we do is we actually place an identifier in front of the area. So let me show you. So if I go to area and I start typing Clinton Township, you can see four Clintons are popping up here. I think there's actually 5, but I see 4 here. One is the identifier. The first 2 digits here is 50. That's actually the county identifier. So if I am looking in my county, Macomb County, I know that this is actually going to be the Clinton Township in Macomb County. Now, if you see 4 of the same city, though, it can be rather confusing. So what you could do is you could just go down to county, and I usually have my search set up so it's county and then area, but you could go down to county here and you could start typing, let's use Genesee. We could start typing Genesee and I could see that that comes up to 5. So that's going to be the identifier. I'm going to use our Clinton Township example again, but I'm going to say, okay, so Macomb County is what I'm looking for. I'm going to go back to our area and I'm going to start typing in Clinton Township. You see how I only get 1 now? Because I've added in the county ahead of time. I'm only seeing that one particular Clinton Township in that county. So it eliminates me having to figure out, oh, which county am I? So if you put your counties in there, you're going to get less results. You're only going to get the results for those specific counties. That may be a little easier. All right, so now let me show you a tip again that I did not know. Hopefully this is helping from an agent to an agent. Hopefully you'll pick up a couple quick tips today. One of the other things I struggled with was if you have an investor who's maybe even looking at 2 counties, and maybe he says, you know what, I really like Macomb County, I really like Genesee County, but there's 1 or 2 cities, maybe Fraser and Centerline, I don't think those values are going up, so I don't want to buy in those areas, okay? So in that case, if I were to actually enter all the cities in those 2 counties, I would be entering like 60 city names. I'd have to start like typing them in. Of course, they're going to quick fill, but then I got to type in the next one, right? You'd have to type in like 60. That would take you forever. There is a much better way. So let me show you. If you go over to the magnifying glass to the right, and you change this from contains to begins with, if you put in that identifying number, so in my case, I'm going to use Macomb County again. So I'm going to put in my 50 and I'm going to say, okay, I want to see all the cities in Macomb County. Look what it just did. It actually brought up all 26 cities. I'm going to adjust this to 50 so I can see all of them. Instead of me typing in 26 cities, I can literally select them all and then just deselect the Fraser or the Centerline city, and it's going to remove that. Now watch, when I hit save, Instead of me having to type city after city after city, I can do a whole county and just select a city or two maybe that they're not interested in. Saves a whole lot of time. Another quick tip is if you've made a mistake, you can actually see everything that you've entered right over here. This is also helpful if you're not getting any results. You can see, did I add something incorrectly? Is there a wrong area, something like that? You can see all of this in your criteria. So if I want to take this out, I can simply hit the X and I've removed all of those cities. Okay. So of course, if I'm setting up a buyer, I'm going to be doing active and we'll just do active for our buyer, but we're going to go over here to the right where that magnifying glass is, and that tells you what all active includes. Now, some associations include coming soons, some do not. Some associations allow ABOs and some do not. So you want to check with UPAR on which statuses, if they don't allow a status, it's usually grayed out. But you do want to know what these terms mean. And why I say that is just because UPAR doesn't allow a certain status doesn't mean your buyers aren't going to see it on places like Zillow. And it also doesn't mean that we shouldn't be educating our buyers what to be prepared for. So coming soon, for instance, coming soon came from what we refer to as a pocket listing problem. So what was happening is we had a lot of agents across the country that were putting a sign in the yard, and then a couple of days later, you're driving with your buyers, they see the sign, they go, "Oh, we love that house, we want to get in there." But it's not in the MLS, and the only information is on the sign, which of course is the listing agents, right? So now you're feeling like, "Well, I can't see any information on it on the MLS. I've called the listing agent, I'm not getting called back." And lo and behold, now it's pending, right? And the listing agent happened to write the offer. So what was happening is NAR created something called Policy 8, and that says you can have a coming soon listing, but it has to go into the MLS within 24 hours. And it also means that you can only have it in the coming soon status for up to 7 days. Now, it doesn't have to be 7, it could be 2, it could be 3. So you'll see an activation date on the listing. That activation date tells you when that listing is going to be available for showings. And it was really just to help keep a level playing field so that agents weren't pocketing listings. And it really, how do you know I wouldn't have brought you a better offer than the listing agent, right? So it really wasn't fair to the consumer. And so that's how this all got started. So coming soon says, and even if your association does not allow that status, meaning that you see it grayed out, you still want to know what that means because you're going to see them through the data shares. Your buyers are seeing them on other sites as well. And so we have to know what that means. And so it just means it can be coming soon to up to 7 days. At midnight on the 7th date actually is going to roll over into an active listing. So, okay. The next one is ABO, accepting backup offers. I don't love this status. I'm going to be totally honest. As an agent, I don't like it at all. I think buyers are already struggling enough to find homes. And ABO, accepting backup offer, which is what that is, we've always accepted backup offers. Our license law says we must present all offers. So guess what? We always did this. But now we're keeping it active in the MLS and we're showing it like an active property. But the difference is it's really should be pending because it has an offer on it. So when your buyers are getting all excited about a property and it's an ABO, you need to let them know, well, we can go look at it, but here's the deal. There is a pending contract on this property. So these are the important statuses that we can better educate our buyers on. So hopefully that makes sense. But I know there were some questions before about, what are these statuses? And if we don't allow them, are we still going to see them? And the answer is yes. You're going to see them through the data sharing, and your buyers are also going to see them on IDX and syndication sites. Oh, good. Got a question. Good. Yes, Amanda, I'm aware. That's why I gave that whole speech about how if you don't use coming soons for your association, Totally understand. UPAR does not allow them, but they will see them through the data share. So again, you need to know what those statuses mean. And that way, when your buyer is seeing them on places like Zillow and other places, you've properly prepped them to know what that means. So, but thank you. All right, so we are going to talk about the market monitor in just a moment. So I'm going to go over how you can customize that. And it depends on which screen you're trying to change. So we'll look at that too in just a second. All right, I'm going to turn my fuzzy hair off again. And let's get back into it. So again, if you see a grayed out status, that's one that your association doesn't use, but you still need to know what those terms are because again, they're going to be seeing it. If you are looking for comps, let's say you're not working with a buyer, let's say you're looking for comps to do a CMA, you can actually use the helpful date drop downs. I hate these calendars, quite honestly, in the MLS, because if you are doing what an appraiser is doing when you're trying to find comps, you have to click into the calendar. You've got to click, click, click 6 months back, click on the dates, a lot of clicking. Really, if I'm trying to find comps, it's probably just going to use the date drop down and say that I want to go back 6 months because in my area, that's what an appraiser is going to do. So the idea is you can quickly fill in the information for comps that you're looking for, or if you're working with a buyer, you can fill out their criteria. There's things like structure style. Maybe your buyer says, you know what, I'm only interested in ranch style homes. I can put in one story. And obviously, the more information you're adding in, the less results you're generally getting. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to, because we're filtering it down, I'm going to jump down a little bit here. We're going to talk a little bit about things like garages. Yes, this buyer maybe wants a garage, but he wants a 2-car attached garage. So that's where we get into more features. So features kind of work like this: must have, must not have, and must have at least one of these items in order to make it over to my buyer's inbox. So let me explain. So let's say that you have a buyer who has specified several times that they only want to see homes with a finished basement. So I can go into, I can start typing the word finished, and now he's only going to get results that have a finished basement. If you have a client who says, I don't want something, maybe you have a client who says, I don't want to deal with a pool. I had a bad experience. I don't want a home with a pool. You can actually say, okay, only send my clients things that do not have a pool or maybe a septic field or something like that. You can actually specify must not have this item. And then there is must have one or more, meaning that if you have a buyer, let's say that the buyer says to you, I either need a pole barn or an oversized lot so that I can build a pole barn. Okay, so there could be one, as long as it has one of those items, it's then going to go automatically over to him. Okay. So how do you know what features are here? Because you could start typing something and it could be a totally different word, right? So I'm going to go over to the magnifying glass to the right. And in these categories is where you're going to find all of the features. So for instance, basement type. Well, if we're looking for a finished basement and I open up basement type and I find finished, must have a finished basement. Now it's only going to go over to my buyer if I set up that auto searching if it has a finished basement. All right, so let's look at a couple other examples. We're going to jump down here to, and this, I don't know you guys would use quite as much, but we do use it here, financial terms. I have a client who only wants to buy on a land contract. He could buy with other means, but he's very fussy, only wants to buy things that are offering land contract terms. So I could say only show him things that are offering land contract terms. However, one of the ones I think you will use quite often are the water features. So maybe your client has a boat and you want to specify, maybe he wants to have his boat tied up at his home. So maybe he doesn't care if it's on the canal or if it's got lake frontage or river frontage, or if he can just tie up at the steel seawall. I can do waterfront. So there is also Great Lakes, interior lake, Those were added specifically for you guys. We added shared waterfront and commons to waterfront for Claire Gladwin. So there's all different features. But what I'm doing is it says must have one or more. So as long as it has one of these options, it's going to automatically go over into that buyer's inbox if I set up the automated searching, which we're going to look at. So if that makes sense. If you have any questions about using features, and by the way, we added quite a few features just for you guys. And don't be afraid to kind of just scroll through here to see what's here. There's green features, there's zoning, there's water features. And again, a lot of these we added specifically for you guys. There's shoreline features. I know that was one we added for you guys. I know you guys have a lot of bluffs on Lake Superior, and I know a lot of that needed to be added to make the system work as you need it to. So moving forward, there's also utilities. I know that was a big one when we were inputting all the data, propane, things like different ways that the utilities are connected. So those are in there as well. So don't be afraid to take some time and actually go through those, kind of get to know the categories there. Then, of course, we've got square footage, above ground square footage. So we're going to say maybe we're looking for 1,000 square feet to 1,500 square feet. And all I'm doing is I'm now going in and I'm setting up my criteria for this buyer. However, we're gonna say that this buyer, he likes different pockets of different cities. So you can see right now, we've got a ton of listings here because we haven't put in the most important thing, right? Location, location, location. So how do we do that? How do we basically pinpoint a location? Another thing is if you're searching, let's say by subdivision name, out here we search a lot by sub name, that's really not the best way to search. And what I mean is in my particular sub, if I were to put in the subdivision name in Paragon, I would get one result. There are actually 6 homes for sale here. What I mean is subdivision name is not required in my MLS. So if I were to search on subdivision name and the agent doesn't bother to put it in because it's not a requirement, I'm missing a lot of important listings. So if you're searching by an area or you're searching by a subdivision, it's best to use the map because that is going to use the geolocation and that is always going to find it. It's not dependent on the agent adding the information incorrectly. So what I'm going to do, because that does happen, right? Agents either don't add the information at all because it's not required, or maybe it's incorrect. By going into the search by map, you're finding those listings the way they're geolocated. So let's actually take a look. When you open up your map, it's going to default to your office location. And that's because that's what UPAR puts in, right? What your office is. And then we then map it to, assuming you work somewhere around your office, to your office address. You can change this in your preferences if you'd like. But let's pretend for a moment we're working with this buyer and this buyer says, you know what? I really like the Sterling Heights area, or I really like the, I'm going to use something a little more populated over here. Let's go right around here. This is probably a good one. I'm going to actually kind of blow this up so you can see a couple of the examples that we're going to talk about today. So we're going to say that the buyer really likes this particular area and he wants to set up his automated search. So anything that comes up with his criteria is automatically emailed directly over to him. So what I want to do is I want to go over to my drawing tools here. And I want to say, okay, the buyer really likes east of Shelby Road. And I'm literally drawing a line everywhere I want to start and stop my line. So I am just clicking to draw the exact area that he's looking for. If he's looking in this subdivision, I want to draw that exact sub out. I don't want to search by sub name. Okay, so that's one thing. The other thing is, I'm going to back out here just a little bit. The other thing is you can have up to 10 shapes on a map. I'm working with a buyer right now who's looking over multiple counties. So I can draw that instead of having to go in and put in all the counties or all the cities. I can draw it and I can also do exclusions on it. Okay. So another good example of this, I'm just going to pick this one up so you can kind of see it, is let's say that your buyer says, you know what, I want to live just within 5 or 6 miles of where I work. Well, I could go in and type in that work address here, hit the magnifying glass, and it's going to locate that work address. Now, if he wants to live 2 miles from where he works, I can go into two, search radius, and basically what I'm doing is I've just drawn a 2 mile radius around his work location. Well, let's say he likes that. We got him close to work, but there's this one area down here he's not too fond of. So I can actually do a shape on a shape. So I'm going to go to draw. I'm going to click my polygon again because I like that you can be a little more specific. And I can say, okay, he really doesn't like this area by Dodge Park. Okay, so I'm just going to go around here. Doesn't really care for that area. So basically what I just did is I drew a shape on the shape. But one more step, I want to go back and hit edit, and I want to exclude that particular shape. So now I've excluded anything from going, nothing's going to go to him in this automated searching that would fall within that shape. Hopefully that makes sense to you. This is really helpful too if you are listing, let's pretend for a moment that this is a waterfront area. We're going to pretend that this Clinton River is like a big lakefront area, maybe a Great Lake even. If you're listing a house way off of the Great Lake, and you have all these comps for homes that are on the Great Lakes, well, I'm going to guess that these are going to be a lot more because they're actually on Lake Superior, right? Versus your little house that maybe is, a half a mile away. So that would be another example of wanting to exclude a particular area. So if I don't want all these $1 million beautiful Lake Superior frontage homes messing up my CMA because I'm not listing that, I want to go back. I want to do the draw. I want to do my polygon again. I'm just outlining the area. You're just clicking to start and stop your lines. And then all you're going to do is change it from includes to excludes. You see how it just pulled that right out of there? Again, you can have up to 10 shapes on a map. So if your buyer wants to look in all different areas, you can really be very, very specific. Couple things that we've added recently too is we've added some things to the layers. So let me kind of show you that. I'm going to kind of remove this circle so it's a little easier to see. And I'm just going to use ones by me. I apologize if I knew the UP better. I would use examples up there, but this way I can at least show you all of the examples and kind of stay within our time frame. So if I wanted to know, does this fall in a floodplain? This happens to be the Clinton River over here. There are a lot of properties that do require flood insurance. And if I have a buyer who says, Colleen, am I going to need flood insurance? Because I don't want to pay flood insurance. Don't show me any properties where I'm going to have to pay flood insurance. I can actually click on the layers. I can then go to the floodplain map, which, by the way, these are the FEMA floodplain maps. I can then say, okay, label it, show me where the area would be that would require flood insurance. I'm going to move a little closer, and you can actually see it's actually outlining, according to the legend, where I might want to stay away from if I'm trying to not have, or I'm trying to help them not have to pay flood insurance. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. And now I do tell my buyers, this is not a survey. It's not an elevation search. It's nothing like that. It's just a visual indicator of places we may want to stay away from, or ask the question, do we in fact need to have flood insurance? Okay. Another thing that came up recently, and it actually was a UPAR call that came in to support, is they said, you know what, it would be really nice if we could search and we could stay within the municipality. Now down here, we have a lot of firefighters or police officers that have to actually reside in the city limits to be a police officer or a firefighter for that area. So one of the questions that came up was, how do I on this map know where the start and stop lines are for the cities? I see the cities here, but how do I know how far I can set up my search? And the answer is if you apply the municipality lines, which are right over here to the left, and I like them labeled so I can see what the cities actually are. If you apply the municipality lines, it's going to help you see when you're setting up your search if they have to live in a certain city and you want to map that out. Well, I can see where those start and stop lines are. So I like that. I think it makes it really simple when you're trying to stay within a particular municipality. And again, I like the labeling because it's a little bit easier with the color coding and being able to see it. All right, so hopefully that makes sense. I don't see any other questions yet. You can do that with school districts. We have attendance zones in here. So they've added even things like bus routes were recently added. We don't have a lot of buses in my area, so I haven't really tested it, but the times and the routes are listed there. So a lot of cool things coming into the mapping. And it does use Google Maps, and that's why. Another thing is if you were looking for comps, I'm going to use our Wessel. If you're looking for comps, if you're like me, well, I don't know if it's just because I start zooming my map in with my fingertips, and all of a sudden I seem to be looking at all the continents. I'm in Asia or Africa, and I'm like, oh my gosh, how do I? And I'm like backspacing, and it seems to be kind of a mess. So for me, it's a little easier to search by putting the address right in this search bar, comma, your city. So if I'm going on a listing appointment, I'm looking for comps for this particular home. I'm going to type in the route street name, comma, the city. I'm going to hit the magnifying glass, and it's going to drop my flag right where I've set. So if I'm looking for comps, let's say within 1 mile of my subject property, I can type in 1. You could do 1.25. You could do 1.5. You can hit search radius. And now I can see those comps are already starting to flow in. The flags, if I click on a flag, it's going to open up the property information to the left. If you see the clustering, it just means that those flags are really close together. And so if you zoom in, it will kind of break those apart for you. But it's just because they cluster them so they're a little easier to access. Every once in a while, you get a flag right on top of another flag, and it's really hard to click into. So that's why they do that. Couple other things here, though. If you are, let's say, working in a more rural area, which I know many of you are, and you want to open up your circle a little. So let's say you only got 1 or 2 comps and you want at least 3, you can actually go to this edit button here. You can click into the shape that you've just created. And what it does is it basically creates these points where you can open your circle a little more or a little less to see. And look, we got another comp that popped right in there. So instead of having to say, I'm going to go 4 miles and getting a ton of properties, you might just want to slowly expand your circle so that you're seeing, just staying as close to the property and seeing just what you need. So hopefully that makes sense too. All right. Lastly, because you are covering so much area now and you're seeing so much more data in your data sharing, a lot of times you want to kind of see what the property may look like before you drive all the way over there. You want to see, or maybe you're showing a house and it's 2 hours away and you kind of want to see what the neighborhood looks like. Well, that's when this little yellow Google guy comes in handy. So if you grab the yellow Google man and you set him in front of the property, by the way, it'll actually show you the address you're about to set him in front of. You literally can walk down that street. You can see the property to the left, the property to the right, but it allows you to literally walk street by street through the neighborhood. I love it when it's all spring green, right? It looks really nice. What I like about this is if you haven't seen the property before, another cool thing that it does, it actually puts a flag on the subject property. So if you type in an address into your map and now you use this Google man, you can actually see the property you're going to go show this evening. And again, you can see the property to the left, the right. You can actually tour the neighborhood without having to drive across town. So hopefully that helps in the mapping. All right, there were some other searches, and we're going to have a whole class on the Collab Center coming up. We're going to talk about your mobile MLS. So all of these classes are coming up. I love the Collab Center because what we do is we have this great search now, right? With all the criteria that our buyers are looking for. What if I told you you could save that search, marry it to a contact record, and automate it. As I've mentioned, that's really the key, right? If a new listing comes up right now, we have no inventory. I wrote an offer this weekend. I kid you not. There were 100, and the property was listed on late Friday. So it went into, on the market late Friday. 120 people through the open house. And they got 9 offers Sunday evening. I mean, we're still, I know they say it's leveling out, but for us, we still have a lot of buyers who have not found homes. And I'm sure you're experiencing things like that as well. Really automating these things so that they never miss a property is really crucial, because now we don't have a lot of time to get in there and it seems to be pending. So when you're automating it, you want to put in all your buyers musts, right? But we're just simply going to do a save search as, and we're going to marry that search to a contact record. And then it's going to allow us to create this automated search, which will notify them. They can favorite things, which emails you, the agent, what they're interested in. So there's a whole class on the Collab Center and actually automating this whole process. I'm going to kind of give you a quick preview of what you would see in that class. But of course, I want to add a contact. So I'm going to call this, we'll call this Benny the buyer. And we're going to put his email address in at Benny at Dealinator. And we're going to go ahead and save their contact information. So all we're really doing is we're now saving that contact information and marrying the criteria to that person. Once we've done that, we're going to send them a welcome to the Collab Center. The Collab Center is basically the back end of the MLS for the client side. Why I like this so much, though, I can see exactly what my clients are looking at. I can see when I added them to the Collab Center. I can see when they last logged in. I can see that my clients have logged in today. I can see that their last notification came today. So I can see all of that right here. They can favorite things. They can reject things. They can ask me questions. If they favorite something, the cool thing is it immediately notifies you, the agent, via email, and they can even tell you the time that they want to see the property. So this is called the Collaboration Center, and it's literally you collaborating with your buyer. If the buyer likes something, like we looked at this home yesterday, they can go into view detail. They can see all of the photos. They can see the seller's disclosure, the lead-based paint. They can even, instead of me calling them and saying, hey, I see you favorited this house, when would you like to see it? Well, they can even submit a time and date that they are requesting to see it. And then I can drop everything into a showing time cart from here easily for scheduling. So that's some really cool things. Of course, the clients have a street view. They can walk down the street just as I showed you. They can see where it is on the map. There's a mortgage payment calculator that will help them figure out what their payment would be. So a lot of helpful tools all in one place. Of course, they can go in, they can favorite it or reject it. And then I can quickly see what they're looking at. So it's a way of collaborating the agent and the buyer together so that I can get them into these houses and we don't waste any time. All right, if you have any questions, now's a great time to start throwing those questions in the questions box. The Collaboration Center class is coming up in just a couple of days. All of the classes that we have scheduled, I think I've got all but 2 of them now in the MLS messaging. So when you log in, there are links where you can register for any of the classes. And this class and automating it will show you how to add spouses in. There's a seller side that you can add in as well. So we'll show you how to do all of that in the upcoming Collab Center. But I think it is a really clean, user-friendly system, and I love it because the information is accurate. So many times our buyers are calling us, they found a house on Zillow, we look it up, and of course it's been closed 30 days, right? Here, you're using the actual MLS database, and I actually tell them that up front. You know what, don't use those other sites. It's a feed. Many times they're outdated. Use this MLS tool, the same one that I use as an agent, so the information is always current. And usually when you say it like that, they're excited because they're looking for a house. They don't want something outdated. All right. So that is our collab center. Other tips and tricks are when you are looking for a product, when you're looking for something like Cloud CMA, when you're looking for your link into zip form, you're going to find those all under the agent toolbox. So under your resources or your agent toolbox, this is where you can find Cloud CMA, you can find HomeSnap, you can find Paragon Connect is there. So you'll find quite a few tools right under there. There's also statistics. There's some lead generation tools that you'll see under there. So if you're looking for a product in Paragon, you're 90% of the time, you're going to find it under resources. The only exception is really taxes or searching. So you'll find those under the appropriate tabs. So we had a really good question about the Market Monitor. So the Market Monitor works like this. There are 4 tabs in the Market Monitor. There is your info, which shows you what you currently have working on or what you're currently working on. And that's going to include things like recent solds, open houses you have scheduled, pending listings, listings, brand new listings, or if you have a listing that's getting ready to expire, all of those things show up in your Market Monitor. The market itself is another tab, and this is really the market you're watching. So as I mentioned, there's quite a few areas right now that are really hot. I don't log into the MLS every single day, and I don't want to have to do a search. So I wanted to go back a couple days, and I wanted to immediately pop up if a new listing in my desired market goes on the market. I want to see that right from here. I want to see things that are expiring. I want to see upcoming open houses. I want to see things that have had price changes. So think it's kind of like a hot list for your market. If I want to see those 10 new listings, I'm going to click on the number. And of course, again, it's going to open up that all of those results. One of the things I recommend is add that agent name. We kind of talked about that, but don't be afraid to customize your results the way that you want them laid out here. One thing too is if you're always scrolling, if you've got a lot over here, I think mine a little bit bigger. Explain. If you're always scrolling over to the right here, remember you can move those columns. You can literally drag them and drop them into the order you want, and they will remain there. It will actually make that your new preference. So don't be afraid to customize the fields, the layout of what you're looking at. It makes it a whole lot easier. If you've also just pulled up a bunch of these listings, let's say we're going to show these to our buyer, you can go right up here to the share button and you can text these over right to your buyer. You can click text. You could pull from a contact you already have in Paragon, or you could add a brand new contact. So maybe I want to send this to Bertha Buyer. All I'm going to do is put in her name and her phone number, and I now can text this over to her directly. You can also send it in a Collab Center link. So there are a bunch of options under share. I can send it in the Collab Center link. I can text it. I could share a listing to Facebook, or I could even tweet it out. Okay, so hopefully that helps a little bit. Now let's go back to customizing your Market Monitor. So there was a question about customizing. How do I set up my market so that I'm seeing exactly what I need? You go right to this gear, and just like I've been showing you, you'll be able to customize by simply going over to the right, clicking on the magnifying glass. I'm going to click on that I'm looking for residential homes. Where am I looking? You could type in a county. You could start typing in a city name or multiple city names. And that same trick I taught you earlier, if you remember, where you could do the begins with, put in your county code, and now I can see all of the cities. So if I wanted to add these all to my Market Monitor, I could do that. Or if I wanted all but maybe 1 or 2, I could deselect those into my Market Monitor. So easy ways to add that information. Again, you could do it by school district, you could do it by county, and you can also set your defaults. What do you want your Market Monitor to open to? Maybe you want it to always open to your info. You can decide that. And then how many days back? It goes up to 7 days back. And then, of course, you can go ahead and hit your refresh button, and it's going to refresh with your details. Office works like this. Some brokerages have multiple locations. So the office is showing you right now what's going on at my office. My office currently has 98 listings. We've got 26 pending listings. So this is showing me within my brick and mortar walls. But again, we have more than one office. I think we have 4 offices now. So if I click on firm, this is going to allow me to see all of the office listings. So I can kind of get a bird's eye view of all of the offices together when I click on firm. So office is just your brick and mortar location. Firm, of course, is going to be for all of your offices that are members of UPAR. I should put that in there as well. You do have to be members of UPAR to show up in your firm records. All right, so the question was, and I hope that helped. Let me just go back and make sure I read all of your question to see if that helped. I'm hoping that that helped. Okay, so I'm hoping that helped, Penny. If you could let me know if that resolved your issue. When I click on the format, it didn't come up like yours. Right now I click on the number and it brings me to the first, but the gear isn't allowing me to change that. So where your gear is, if you're saying it's more of a date, it's not going back far enough. If you scroll, it doesn't look like there's more there, Penny, and I apologize. That may be some of the problem. Looks like it stops right there, I think. But if you scroll down a little further, you can see you can actually customize how many days back and what you want it to open to. So I'm hoping that makes sense. All right. If you have any other questions, now is a great time to throw those in here. But again, doing things like customizing your searches, customizing your market monitor, set up these quick speed bars at the bottom. I again didn't know it was there for a long time. Maybe you did. I just was so happy when I found that. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it saves me like 3 clicks. So I know it's just 3 clicks, but they all add up. So hopefully that helped you too. Just checking for questions here. All right, so the next thing I want to cover is we are recording this, and I know I'm going over a lot of details and kind of at a pretty good clip here. So you're probably thinking, lady with the fuzzy hair, how in the world am I going to remember all this? Well, the good news is you can watch this recording at any time. And where you find this recording is under resources. And let's shrink my GoToWebinar box here. So under your resources tab, remember that's your agent toolbox where you're going to find all of your tools. Under the education section, you're going to find recorded webinars. That takes you to our YouTube channel. What I did on our YouTube channel is I created a playlist just for UPAR. So it's going to have all of your products, your tip videos. We created these little quick tip videos. And all you have to do is find the Upper Peninsula Association of Realtor playlist. You're going to click on that, and it's going to show you all of the different classes that we're doing. It'll have the date next to the class. And so when you look at, if you're looking for today's date, you're going to look for 3/22, click on it, and that class will start to play. You can fast forward to where you need to. It's just a helpful kind of go back. A lot of times, if you don't use a particular feature for a few months, you forget how it works. So this is a great point of reference. Just go right under your resources tab. Again, you're going to look for the education section, recorded webinars, and that will take you to the YouTube channel. Another thing I wanted to point out is I'm kind of a video person. I like to fast forward to the video and get to the help that I'm looking for. But if you are one of those people who are more of a checklist type of person, you can also go to the MLS documents right up here. It's kind of hidden. Nobody really knows it's there. But if you click on the MLS documents and you go to our education folder, it says right under it, handouts and cheat sheets. Let's say that you had a question on using the map or managing your contacts in Paragon. And by the way, there's so many here. If you just type in a keyword like Paragon, for instance, and enter, it'll show you all of the flyers or all of the cheat sheets for Paragon. So if I am going, let's say I am looking for listing entry. We'll use this one. How do you add a listing in? It will open up that PDF You can save that PDF. You could put it on your desktop. You could email it to someone, but basically, it's a step-by-step cheat sheet. We ended up rewriting them because when we got them from the technology companies, we thought that they were really kind of confusing, didn't have any agent speak, if you know what I mean. They sounded like they were written by tech people. So what we did is we actually we each took a stack and we sort of rewrote them in a nice, easy to read format. We tell you exactly where to click so you don't have to go page to page. It's kind of circled and tells you what each of those features do. So the idea is you've got help that's available. Then you have a tech support line. They're actually in-house. A lot of them are agents. I actually take tech support calls myself once in a while. And you can reach tech support for any of our products, not just Paragon, but you can talk to them about a problem you're having with Cloud CMA or HomeSnap, or maybe the two are related. You want to know how to get your listings from Paragon into Cloud CMA. And so we can actually assist you with that 7 days a week, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. And like I said, the nice thing is most of them are agents, so they have real hands-on experience, which I personally think makes a big difference because they use the tools. They know it's not somebody trying to remember, the manual. They actually use them out in the field. Okay. Penny, I think I'm going to reach out to you afterward. If you don't mind, if you put your phone number in the questions box, I think what I'll do is I'll just reach out to you and maybe we can do a quick call and I can, I think in chatting with you, I might be able to better understand. I know it's kind of hard reading it, especially during the webinar. Perfect. I'll give you a call directly after, and then we can figure out what's going on with your market monitor and get it all set up. Okay. All right, so that is pretty much all I have for you today. I hope you found that helpful. There will be a survey coming out afterward, just asking you what you thought of the class. If we covered a couple quick tips, or if you have a favorite quick tip, I would love it if you'd put that in the survey. If you feel that we didn't answer any of your questions, or okay. Okay, so and you know what, I'm not going to get too far into the weeds in that. So Amanda from UPAR said that they do allow coming soon listings. Again, if you have a question about whether coming soons are allowed or not, really, if they're allowed, you're going to be able to use them. If they're not allowed, we've grayed them out. So there shouldn't be too many questions on that. But again, every association is different. But Amanda said, Kaylee is telling me that Amanda says we do allow coming soon listings. So if you do have a question of whether or not that's allowed, you can, of course, call UPAR. But more importantly, when you open it up and you go to those statuses, if the status is grayed out, that means that that's not one that we've set up for you. But you do need to know what those statuses are specifically because you will see them in the data share. Just because your board doesn't use a particular status, that's okay. But remember, the board next to you that's now sharing data with you, they may. And so you do have to still know what those are. And those are basically ABOs and coming soons. You do kind of have to know what those statuses mean. I don't see any other questions. If you have any other questions, right now is a great time to throw those in. But Kaylee did want me to mention that that Amanda says that they do allow coming soon listings. And I think that's it. Well, I want to thank everybody for your time today. Happy spring. Hope to see you in many of the upcoming classes that we have. And I hope you, well, happy selling and have a great day.